And today I'm going to demonstrate with my rolled up blanket, just because I've demonstrated with the block a few times before, so I just want to show how this works as well. I'm going to place that bolster, rolled up blanket, rolled up towel between the inner thighs. Just give it a nice gentle squeeze. Check in with the alignment of your feet. Second and third toes are going to point forward. Now, if you don't have a blanket and you're using your block today, this is the orientation the block should go between the inner thighs, right? And that usually sets up the thigh bones to be about the width of the hips. Okay, once you find the position of your feet, find a softness in the knees again, let the bottom of the pelvis sink towards the mat. Notice again the upper pole, the top of the head reaches up as the bottom pole, base of the pelvis sinks down. This creates a natural flow of energy like a magnet. Right, we create those two poles and energy flows between them. Notice your arms, shoulders for a moment here, palms forward or facing inward. Again, we just find that equal weight in the feet. Much like your boat pose, chair pose, we work more from the center, less from the legs. So begin by just lowering your pelvis lightly down towards the mat. Squeezing your prop, feel the base of the pelvis tightens, and then begin to just project up through the crown of the head, letting the hips lift any amount. Try to watch locking out the knees or going into that forward tilt of the bowl of the pelvis here. So you might stay a little softer. And just find a little lift up, relax, let it go as you sink down. Squeeze your prop. Tighten the root of the body, lengthen and project up through the crown. When you get good with this, you can actually feel a nice sense of upward flow of energy, and we can just move our center forward as we continue to ground down through the fronts of the feet, that flow of energy upward. We can also feel going through the inner legs, from the arches up the inner legs to the base of the pelvis essentially. A great way to strengthen the energy that flows through our legs here is by lifting the heels, coming back down, and do this a few times if you feel able to. Totally optional there to lift the heels. You can also just continue with this first practice. It's that lifting energy balanced with the grounding energy that helps us to hold the posture of chair pose with more ease. So when you're ready, sink the pelvis down. It's going to want to tip forward at a certain point. Let that happen. Your torso just stays about the same angle as the pelvis. Arms stretching forward or upward again as you lift through the center of the ribs. The arms reach from there, not coming from the back or the neck, but from the center. Feel the weight in the feet equally. Squeeze your prop to help you get a little more inner boost of energy. Hold here, see if you can find where the energy tends to want to develop most strongly or cultivate, get stuck, however you want to look at that. Exhale, fold forward. Knees again can be soft here. If you want to feel a little more in this, squeeze your prop, lift the base of the pelvis, push through the feet evenly. Find the hands to the floor. Or if you prefer, again, you can use the block underneath your hands too. So maybe you have one between your inner thighs, one between your hands, or you can move it if you'd like to as well. Okay, one more time, we've got that prop between the inner thighs, soft bend to the knees, slowly stack the body up, reach the arms up from your center. And bring it back in. One more chair pose, sink the pelvis down, stretch the arms forward, maybe upward. Extra challenge here, move your pelvis forward, let the weight come out of the heels, and then lift the heels up. Our energy again flowing up through the entire body, so it's not the calves doing the work. As I start to lower my pelvis down, maybe I'll remove my prop since it's kind of going to be obstructive there. Thigh bones point forward, torso is vertical, and I'm using that inner lift to give me balance through any phase of this movement where I'm connected. Okay, so again, that's not coming from my legs, actually coming from the connections of my center throughout. To come out, if your heels are lifted, just push your pelvis back, that'll round the heels, and you can fold forward over the legs. Then remove the prop from your inner thighs if it was still there. Shake out the legs a little bit. One more thing we'll do here, if you do have your block handy, great. You can place it underneath your hands for a little bit of extra height. If you don't, bend the knees enough so that you can bring your hands to the floor. Right, so you might be pretty bent with those knees. And if you can't find that, just bring your hands to your shins, and you'll skip the last part of this practice. If your hands are on the floor, we're going to again exhale to round. Inhale, find your flat back. Lift base of pelvis, lift crown of the head. You can do this part with the shins, hands on shins as well. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, lift. This is again about projecting the energy through the center. Now, if you're ready and your hands are supported on something, floor, mat, or block, as you project forward, move your pelvis forward, let the heels lift. Try to push into the floor or the block with your hands as those heels come up, and then bring it back down. Okay, lifting on the exhale, and we'll release on the inhale for this one today. Now, if you want to practice your crow pose, I'm going to give you the option to try this once today. Start in the mountain pose. Okay, otherwise you can just practice that forward fold, or you can follow me through this chair sequence and just stop wherever your body stops. Inhaling, I'm sitting into chair, Utkatasana. Using that lift of energy in the center. Beginning to move my center forward, the heels lift, my body sinks down deeper. The knees will go wide, hands plant to the mat. Obstacles out of the way there. Shoulder distance, okay? So your hands right underneath the shoulders. Lift the pelvis high enough so that when you bend the elbows a little, you can rest your shins right on top of the triceps, just above the elbows. Inner thighs squeeze in. The aim here, work to create that flat back. So you're lengthening through your center, moving the belly button forward. When the weight comes out of the feet, I'm pushing into the floor through my hands, lifting through the ribs, lengthening through the crown. Feet just float up. That again, just like the chaturanga, the energy actually is coming from the connections through our center. So again, hands plant, shins rest on triceps. Now gravity is what's connecting my arms and my legs, but a little squeeze of energy in with those thighs helps me to lift from the root and find the pose. So practice that if you'd like to. Again, you can just skip it today. A few extra breaths in your forward fold. If you're in your crow pose, plant your feet or transition through any movement that suits you there. Find your way back up to the mountain pose. Awesome, and just take a moment to find yourself centered here. Sink the hips down for your yoga squat. Some of you might, from that yoga squat, again, find a good contact of shins and triceps, inner thighs, and arm bones. Plant the hands. Move forward and find your crow. This is the same thing. We're squeezing those inner thighs, pushing the arm bones down, and creating that inner lift of energy that'll eventually take you off your feet. That's a lot for the thighs or the knees. Come here and find the same thing. Downward push, upward lift, and breath. From wherever you're at, if the feet are floating, plant them. Hands come to the floor if they're not already there. Hips lift up. You'll straighten the legs.